G'day, folks, and welcome. So, we're on the road to The Rise of Skywalker, and we decided to go back and rewatch The Force Awakens. And we wrote down some notes and ideas we had along the way, and here we go. Why don't you start us off?
Okay, well, um, I loved it the first time I saw it, and actually probably the first 4 or 5 times that I saw it. I loved the hype. I fell for it. I wanted to believe in it, and I did. I really did. Um, I feel like everybody gave it shit for being a carbon copy of A New Hope, but I just saw it as fan service, which is what we needed after the prequels. And I felt like it was an announcement. It was a promise that the new series would redeem itself and that it would give a new hope, pun intended.
Well, I must say, I was also caught up in the hype. I spent about a year or so stewing in the excitement leading up to it. I was listening to every podcast, reading every article, watching every trailer, teaser with bated breath, and I was pumped and hyped. And I also was, convinced it was a brilliant movie for the first few weeks. I think we saw it like 3 or 4 times in the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was like, I think I was in a bit of denial because I didn't want to admit that I'd spent that much time riding a wave of hype that, I didn't want to admit that it was disappointing. And the seeds of disappointment were there in the first time I watched it, but I sort of pushed them away and was razzle dazzled by the special effects, the music, seeing the old actors come back. It didn't start to sink in until I watched it more times, started thinking about it more, analyzing it, and then the real picture started to sink in. And now I've got a much clearer idea and vision of what really went down. And so I think you'll see that now in our notes and our ideas on it after seeing it. Well, more than it's almost 4 years later now. It is 4 years later,
Yeah.
and yeah, a lot has happened since then with Lucasfilm and all of that, and how fans have been treated. So, yeah, I'm seeing it with different eyes now. So,
Well, I still enjoy it, just now I can see more along the lines of all of the flaws that are in there and all of the unanswered questions, which made me hope that The Last Jedi would answer everything and clear up all of the sort of confusion.
all right. So, looking at my notes, the first thing I've written down is how terrible, all right, some of the dialogue is in this movie. And to start off with, it's got what I consider the worst line in the entire Star Wars saga. And I'm saying even worse than Anakin saying how much he hates sand in episode 2. All right? And that's Poe in the first scene face to face with Kylo Ren. It's supposed to be a dramatic scene, it's supposed to be tense, it's supposed to have, a lot of tension built up, and there's foreboding, and it's supposed to be menace from this villain, and then Poe just cuts all that tension, right, with a bloody chainsaw, and says, "Well, you talk first. I talk first." That's the worst line of all time in terms of Star Wars. Maybe it's a contender for worst line of all time in maybe film history.
Oh, it wasn't that bad. See, I actually liked that scene because it felt realistic to me, because that's something that I would do. I would get all um, caught up and awkward and just try to break the tension by just saying something ridiculous like that.
In the middle of a village massacre.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Not sure. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, things are
Hey,
awkward.
in village massacres, you do what you got to do. Maybe you got to crack some jokes,
Well, when your life depends on it, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. So what have you got?
I thought it was a nice touch when Kylo was walking back to his spaceship, whatever he was flying, and he looked over at Finn, and without even uh, seeing, he could sense that he wasn't like everybody else, that he had good in him.
See, yeah, I sort of misread. I don't know. Maybe I misread that as implying that Finn had some kind of force ability that he was sensing. But
Yeah,
as
no,
we know, Finn has no force ability at all.
I think because the light is actually in Kylo, he sensed it and he wanted to shut it down.
Maybe. Look, I attribute everything I don't understand in this movie to bad writing. Maybe it's just me. But I think it's a poorly written film. Anyway.
Well, it's not The Last Jedi, but
No. Alright, am I up next?
yeah, go for it.
Alright, so the next thing that stood out to me is I've just written down here that Rey is just good at bloody everything. Alright?
Well, she's a
So,
woman.
Okay. Well, how do you explain her driving the ship then? So well. And parking it. Okay. No. Yeah, but no, she's a total Mary Sue in this movie. I mean, they just have overpowered her in everything. She, is an expert mechanic. She's an expert at hand-to-hand combat. She's an expert at lightsaber dueling, which she's never done before. But, as we know, she bloody beats a trained master. She is an expert at Jedi mind tricks without any training. She's just an expert at everything. Oh, she's even a great marksman, at shooting people. It's just ridiculous. It's too much. Oh, and pilot as well. It's too much. It's too much. She's overpowered. She has no flaws. She has no weaknesses. I mean, the characters in the original trilogy, Luke in the original trilogy, and even Anakin, the sort of central character of the prequel trilogy, they weren't good at everything. And Anakin was probably the most overpowered of all the characters, but even he was like losing saber fights all the time, and he was a trained Jedi. It was ridiculous.
I think what it is with the Force, you have to believe in what you're doing. You have to be calm. You can't have your emotions run wild. And when we see Kylo letting his emotions run wild, that's when he starts to lose. When we see Rey get emotional, she's weak and she messes up things. But as soon as she starts believing in herself, oh, I can do this, she completely changes and then she takes control. I still don't know why she is a Mary Sue, as you said, why she's so perfect. And I think that's what let me down so much about The Last Jedi. Sorry to mention that again when it's a different movie.
No,
but I think that's why I was so let
tied
down,
together.
because I was building up to that movie. I was looking forward to that movie more than I was looking forward to The Force Awakens, because I wanted the answers. I wanted to know what her history was, what her past was. I wanted to know about the Knights of Ren. I wanted all this information, and we didn't get it because there was no need for it, apparently.
J.J. Abrams set up a lot of mysteries and a lot of questions to be answered.
Yes.
And The Last Jedi, just flushed them all down the toilet.
Yeah. Oh, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
You're just a nobody.
Now, look, I'll tell you
You're
what.
just magically amazing.
Lucasfilm should have hired you for their PR and marketing campaign, because that, what you were saying about, that she has to be calm and all that, and when they lose control, they're weaker with the Force. That's probably the best explanation and defense you'll ever get for this movie from anybody. All right, you've done better at defending this movie than Lucasfilm did at promoting it, or even putting out a finished product, because it didn't make any sense on screen. Your attempt to try and give some kind of explanation, while admirable, I still think this movie can't be redeemed.
You think about Kylo. I mean, he is so strong. He could have been the best villain that they have ever had.
They never even showed Vader stopping plasma bolts or laser blasts in midair.
Yeah.
Even Vader absorbed them into his hands in Empire Strikes Back, but he never just paused them and suspended them.
He was stronger. He was more
midair.
badass. I mean, the thing that I always say about Vader was he did the wrong thing, but he did it for love.
Mm.
Uh,
I don't know. I don't know if you could
did-
say he killed the younglings for love.
You know what? No, like it was all for love, and it tormented him so much that he became the way that he did. But deep down, it was all because of love. And
Child murder for love. My gosh. Look, I get what you're trying to say about his feelings for Padme
yes.
and wanting to keep her alive
yes.
forever.
Yes. But whereas with Kylo, he's good on the inside, but he wants to be bad. And that's what makes him that's what made him such an interesting character. And I thought I mean, I don't remember ever seeing that in a villain before. Somebody that is choosing to be bad when they're feeling the pull of goodness.
There were a few compelling elements to this movie that could have been fleshed out in real interesting ways. All right, I'll get to later on a few heinous things that I think just made this movie irredeemable. But I know what you're saying. The element you're saying right now was compelling and could have been something that could have been great.
Yeah, those two could have been such incredible characters, and instead they're just hollow. Like they're
good points.
Oh,
so what's next? Who goes first? You go first. I go first. Who's next? Yeah. Am I next?
I don't know. Let's ask the villagers.
Oh. It was all for love. All right. All right. I'll go next. All right. I've got here that Finn was just reduced to a walking joke, a bumbling fool, and comedic relief. Now, John Boyega is a great actor. He has great acting abilities, a lot of intensity, and personally, I feel he should have been the central protagonist and the main Jedi character of this entire trilogy.
Yes.
And I feel like his character was just wasted. His acting ability was wasted, and they just turned him into a bloody, they turned him into a bloody, just a moron and a clumsy oaf. He's supposed to be a stormtrooper. He's supposed to be like an elite soldier. I know the stormtroopers have the reputation of being cockeyed, they can't aim or anything, but he's supposed to be a soldier from birth, pretty much, raised to be a warrior. Yeah. And instead, he's like a slapstick clown.
He had the best acting out of everybody in the movie.
Yeah, he's got the chops for sure.
I mean, the first scene that we saw him, I could feel it. I mean, I could feel his fear of being there. I could feel that he knew that he was doing the wrong thing and that he had to get out of there because he refused to be part of doing the wrong thing, even though that's all he's ever known. I mean, and how can you feel that when you've only seen a character on the screen for 30 seconds? I mean, that's how good his acting was. And he was just wasted.
No, you're right. There was no explanation for his motivation either. Like, why is he all of a sudden... Why did he want to be a good guy? When none of the other stormtroopers give a shit about anybody.
Well, yeah.
It was, but I know what you're saying, totally wasted acting ability.
That part did actually... I did like that they did that. I'm mumbling now. I never saw the stormtroopers as human before that moment.
Well, interesting tidbit, up until I think the original trilogy, which would have been A New Hope, up until A New Hope, all the stormtroopers were supposed to be clones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
which doesn't mean they're robots or have no personality or soul or anything like that. But but they were supposed to just be clones of that Jango Fett, pretty much. I think. I don't know. I can't remember exactly for sure. But yeah, they were clones, and then they turned them into a recruit army, I guess, of after A New Hope started, or before A New Hope started.
I just found it interesting that some of the stormtroopers could have not wanted to be there, and then when they said that they had to be reprogrammed or something along those lines, it just made me think, oh, how many others are there?
Hmm.
I don't know. It was just interesting to me, that part.
I agree.
Hmm.
All right, I've got here that Snoke is a useless and pointless villain, especially in hindsight for what came next in The Last Jedi.
Yes.
So yeah, you get your brief glimpses of Snoke in this, and again, he started off. I remember the first time watching this, I was like, "Whoa, this guy's massive," you know, because he looked humongous.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, they should have kept him humongous.
Yes.
Throughout the whole trilogy, that would have made him
yes,
more
yes.
imposing villain, more interesting villain, because we haven't seen that kind of villain in Star Wars before, really. Someone who's massive like that, and would have made for an epic conclusion. Imagine having to fight him.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, he was just a useless villain because they killed him off in the next one. Oh, spoiler alert! If you haven't seen The Last Jedi, what rock have you been living under? Literally the worst movie of the decade. But
Yeah.
yeah, but just totally wasted. And you had a brilliant voice actor in just a brilliant actor. Period in Andy Serkis playing him is
No idea.
the guy who also did the motion capture work for King Kong 2005. He also did Gollum in The Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
He's a brilliant actor, brilliant voice actor, brilliant physical actor. And his talents were totally wasted in this as well, considering they, you know, the two heinous things they did with Snoke is they made it so that his giant stature wasn't even real, it was just a hologram. And secondly, that they just killed him off pointlessly in the next movie, so his threat level really was zero in hindsight. Zero, nothing, nada, zilch. Yeah, it was like a faux villain. And if the leaks are true about The Rise of Skywalker, he really was a faux villain. It was just nothing.
Well, speaking of nothing,
Mm-hmm.
Captain Phasma.
Oh yeah, she was next on my list as well. Yeah.
She was so boring. What a waste of a character. And I feel like they just put her in there so that she could be Boba Fett. The new Boba Fett.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah.
But
I feel like either Boba Fett.
I love Boba Fett.
And he was like
And Captain Phasma did nothing.
Well, firstly, it's funny that you call him Boba Fett and not Boba Fett.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is funny, but it's hey, it's cute, hun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, actually, I want to start calling him Boba Fett now. Hey, maybe it's the Aussie accent.
I'm choosing to
tell us in the comments. I say Boba Fett. Maybe it's our accent. Maybe it is Boba Fett.
I think it's just been too long since I've watched.
No, but you're totally right. But the funny thing is, Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, he had very minimal screen time also in Empire Strikes Back, but became like a cult fan favorite.
I mean,
with minimal dialogue. But I think even with his minimal dialogue and his minimal screen presence, he still felt more of a presence in those movies than Phasma did.
Yeah.
She's in like 2 scenes.
I know. Nobody's
maybe 3 at most.
Crap about Captain Phasma in 30 years.
Well, come on. She was purely put in this movie for marketing and toy sales. That's all it was. Silver.
But nobody bought the toys.
No. In the lead up to The Force Awakens, Phasma was very popular as a toy. Yeah, heaps of people were buying it because they thought she was going to be this major sub-villain in the series. So I remember I was watching all these channels and they were unboxing Phasma toys and Black X-Wings.
Righto.
Yeah, all that. She was purely for toy sales.
Yeah.
Because she was hardly in it. Yeah. She literally did nothing.
They did a really good job of marketing the movie so that we didn't know who was good, who was bad, who was in it for long enough for us to care about.
Oh yeah, the trailers were brilliant because they really sucked you in and you didn't really know exactly what was going on. We didn't even know who the main protagonist was going to be.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I had as soon as I saw John Boyega as Finn in the trailers, I'm like, man, that guy's a pretty good actor. There's a lot of intensity. I hope he's the main hero. Yeah. Somehow deep down I knew they were going to make it the girl. It's like they had to because it was 2015, y'all. But as you were along the lines of what you were saying about, we're talking about useless, pointless characters. The Knights of Ren.
Oh.
The Knights of...
That was such a letdown for me.
But how about the Knights of when? When are they going to turn up?
Hey, I like that.
Like, seriously. When
Yeah.
they are shown in a flashback sequence.
Mhm.
And that's it. They didn't even make toys of the Knights of Ren. They were just sort of something mentioned in the background. It's almost like in A New Hope, Obi-Wan sort of mentions as an aside the Clone Wars. And so all this fan fiction came up about the Clone Wars, and they ended up making a whole movie and series about it many decades later. And I'm wondering, did J.J. Abrams have the hubris to think that he had come up with something as compelling as the Clone Wars to just drop as an aside mention that everyone would build it up, and then decades later they'd make a whole thing about the Knights of Ren? Because I don't think it's got the longevity and lastability and interest level of the Clone Wars. Okay, the Knights of Ren. They literally, they're never explored unless they try and do it in Rise of Skywalker. They just mentioned. They were interesting. I'm like, hey, let's see them battle. Let's, maybe the main protagonist will fight them at some point.
Yep.
But so far, nothing's happened. Anyway, what you got next?
I just thought of a nice little touch where Rey is shining her junk on Jakku. And
shining her junk? That sounds like a euphemism. I was going to
Sorry.
say, she's a bit androgynous.
She's
to begin with. She's shining her junk up.
She's shining her junk.
Well, what else are you going to do when you're stuck in the desert?
Oh dear. She's shining her junk, and she looks over and she sees an elderly woman.
Oh, this is getting worse.
I know. Should have said that.
Kind of taste as Raymond.
Yes,
I guess everybody loves Raymond. Yeah, no, sorry.
So she sees this elderly woman, and she has that moment. You can just tell she's having that moment where she's like, "Oh crap! This is my future. This is what's going to happen to me if nothing changes. I mean, I'm going to be that elderly woman, still searching for junk to keep food in my mouth." And it was just, I felt like that was realistic.
Now you're very perceptive, because like in that scene, I wasn't making connections like that.
Oh, it's like how
you're very perceptive.
I'll be down and I'll be driving and I'll go through the drive-through or something, and I'll see a lady in her 60s or 70s working the drive-through, and I'm like, whoa, I hope that's not my future. You know what I mean? Like I could feel.
You never know. She might be like a millionaire who just really loves.
I know that she could. Maybe she's volunteering
really loves,
her time.
serving people.
Maybe she owns, the fast food joint, and she's just.
Maybe it's like,
undercover boss or something.
Jane McDonald.
Jane.
And.
Anyway, I felt that was realistic. Especially, I felt like that part was aimed at the women watching The Force Awakens, because we've all kind of had similar feelings like that, or similar realizations.
Or that time's sort of passing you by.
And you have to go out and do something to change your path.
And achieve the things you want to achieve before it's too late.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah? Or am I now reading too much into this one scene?
I don't know.
Alright, well you're all profound, and my next note is Maz Kanata equals anus eyes. Well, when she takes her glasses off, it's like two giant sphincters on her face. It's not my fault. Someone somewhere on the internet pointed that out, and then it's sort of, I forgot about it. I saw this years ago, and then like as I'm watching this one, it just sort of came back into my head, and as soon as she took those glasses off, I just couldn't unsee it. That's all I could see. The look of her character really stinks. Literally. It stinks.
Oh,
and it's a shame, because the actress who voices and does the motion capture for her character, Lupita Nyong'o, she's a brilliant actress, and she's quite beautiful too. And I don't know why she has a really striking appearance. I don't know why they didn't just let her have her own appearance in it instead of making this stupid little troll-like goblin creature with arseholes on her face. Like, why would you do that? It's a waste of talent. Just like John Boyega as Finn was a waste of his talent. This was a waste of Lupita Nyong'o's talent. And she's a really good actress. And Maz Kanata should never have looked as a CGI little horror creature. That's
that was your note.
Yeah, that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, my next two notes are actually back on Jakku.
Oh, were they? Well, before we go back to Jakku,
Why does everybody want to keep going back to Jakku?
I don't know. I never want to go back to Jakku ever again. All right? No, this is just it's relevant to Maz Kanata.
Yeah.
Or Maz Katana, as everyone kept mispronouncing when it came out.
Yeah.
No, I've also got here that the whole the bar sequence on her planet. That was the laziest rip-off of the cantina scene in episode 4 that you'll ever see.
Yeah.
Oh, look, lots of different aliens. Oh, look, a band playing weird music, but the music was not memorable. Like, look at the cantina tune in episode 4. Everyone knows that. People have that as ringtones on their phone.
Yeah.
No one knows the shit music that played in this. It wasn't memorable. It was crap. They could have at least got a band in to make a memorable tune. It was like nothing. And all the aliens were forgettable for the most part. You know, 1 or 2 looked good. But look, I appreciate that they did practical effects a lot in this movie because fans wanted that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the rest of it just felt like cheap knockoff, just a copy. Sorry, now you can go back to Jakku.
Well, just on that, I feel like that was meant to be fan service, but it didn't deliver well at all.
I was going to say it was a cheap knockoff, but it wasn't a cheap knockoff. It was an expensive bloody knockoff because this movie cost like, what, $200 million to make? So it was just one big, giant, expensive knockoff of episode 4 without any of the heart. Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
I have a question for you.
Back to Jakku.
Back to Jakku.
Yeah.
Where did Poe go?
Where did Poe go?
Where did Poe go?
Oh, you mean off Jakku? Like, how did he escape the crash?
And why did he leave Finn?
I don't think that's ever explained.
How did he mysteriously get off the island, off the planet, whatever?
And why did he leave his jacket behind?
Why did he leave
prized
his jacket behind? And how did they not bump into each other in the village? I mean, there's just too many questions there. I'm very upset that after watching it so many times, I still don't have the answer.
Well, I guess they couldn't have 2 male leads taking the shine off Rey. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, they never really explained that. Does it when him and Finn meet up later on? Doesn't Finn say, "How did you escape?" And he's just like, "I don't know. I just did." I don't know.
Yeah,
Something like that.
I don't know. If you know, please say in the comments because it's just doing my head in.
I bet there's a whole fan fiction story, like an 800-page fan fiction story of what Poe got up to. You know, and it's probably better than the shit that happened in the movie.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Still on Jakku.
Okay.
Yes. I loved their bonding session in that time.
Who's bonding session?
Finn and Rey.
Where she wouldn't let him hold her hand.
She wouldn't let him hold it. So it was a whole sequence, right? So it was the whole story. In the beginning, neither of them had anybody to depend on. They've spent their whole lives, you know, not having anybody supportive of them, and they had to fend for themselves. And, you know, Rey didn't want to accept help. And then when he asked her if she was okay, that's when everything changed. That's when, you know, they started to really bond. She accepted him and they became buddies.
I guess.
And I don't really know what I'm trying to say here. I just thought that it was a nice touch to see them actually go through something to become friends instead of.
You saw a small snippet of humanity in their little interactions.
Yeah, that's pretty
I
much what
guess.
I'm trying to say.
What you're trying to say? Yeah, I agree.
It was a nice touch.
I think most of that was carried by John Boyega'S acting abilities.
Yes.
He's a damn good actor. He's the best actor in the whole trilogy.
I felt every emotion that he was giving.
Yeah.
There wasn't a single scene with him in it where I didn't believe that he was actually feeling what he was acting.
He wasn't phoning it in like bloody Harrison Ford did in this movie.
Oh, I'd like to talk about that later, actually.
Okay.
Yep.
Have you got that written down?
I do.
Harrison Ford equals phoning it in.
Yes.
He's been wanting Han Solo killed off since Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
All right, I've got here. Oh, yeah. We see one scene of a Rey imperfection, because this girl is practically perfect on here, and that is when Kylo force paralyzes her. No. It's about the only bit in the movie where she isn't ruling the universe.
No, sorry.
What?
You missed some.
Did I miss some others? Oh wait, didn't she? Oh wait, what? She get like slammed against a tree? I think later at the end in the fight scene. That's about it.
Plenty of times. Anytime she was emotional, anytime she was scared, anytime she was just worried in general, she would mess up. And then as soon as
mess up,
yeah, she would mess up.
Wasn't she scared in? Hold on, wasn't she scared in that whole Millennium Falcon chase scene with the TIE fighters? Yet she was pulling off all these death-defying, amazing maneuvers in a ship she'd never flown before.
Okay.
Am I wrong? Did she say she flew that ship before? Because she knew everything about it. She knew all the mechanics behind it. She knew how to bypass the compressor. Even Han Solo didn't know that, and it was his ship for like 30 years.
No. See, hang on. I don't think she actually knew. I don't think she had the practical experience of flying a ship before, right? She had that little kind of whatever the hell it was.
Quad jumper thing.
Yeah, that thing. She had that. So she had experience flying that, or hovering that, or whatever.
Jumping.
Jumping, yep. But I've been trying to explain it, and the only way that I can think of explaining it properly, or the closest, is she's like a college student, a university student. She has read the manuals, she's got the knowledge, but she doesn't have the practical experience.
Where did she get a manual to the Millennium Falcon?
No, she doesn't have a manual to the Millennium Falcon. She is a junker, so she knows what parts to look for, and she knows where they connect, she knows what they do, she knows how much they're worth, blah, blah, blah.
Were you saying like you get these jack of all trades who just know how to fix up cars without being mechanics, and it's sort of, 1 car, normal sort of thing? Is that what you mean?
Maybe, yes. Let's go with that.
Okay.
I can't explain how she didn't crash a million times over when she was flying through.
And the fact that she seems to know it better than Han Solo. That is one of the heinous parts of this film that I can't... That's unforgivable and unexplainable. You can't explain that one away. Han Solo should know that ship better than anyone. It was literally his home for decades. He lived on that ship. Yeah.
He's getting old.
Yeah.
And maybe it was unexplained, but maybe she, she had to work on there and find parts for it, and maybe she was, I don't know.
Look, this is all fine.
Stuff that should have been explained in The Last Jedi.
They could have explained things like that, but it's just Star Wars is a thing. You don't mess with Han and his ship. You don't come in the way of that. Yeah, it's like an iconic, legendary thing.
But if it
I know what you're trying to say.
If you're gonna do it,
you're too kind to the movies because But I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to give them as much leniency as possible.
No, I feel like
I
know what they were trying to do.
I know.
And they did so well in some parts, but then the parts that they didn't explain is just why?
This leads me to my next heinous thing. Unforgivable crime of this movie. Well, it's not the worst one, but I really felt that the reunion between Han and Leia was very weak. It's just poorly written. None of the dialogue stuck or felt genuine. Dumb lines, like they haven't seen each other in I don't know how long. and they have this history between them. And the first line is, what does he say? Something like, "Your hair's different," and she's like, "Same jacket." What the hell?
What?
It's lame and weird and awkward.
I know.
There shouldn't be any awkwardness between these two characters.
Well, he did run away.
Yeah, but when you watch
I mean, it's a
episode
bit-
4 to episode 6, I mean, the chemistry between them is just out of this world. Like, there's never an awkward moment. You know, even the bits where they seem to hate each other, it's just this amazing love-hate sort of chemistry that they have.
Yeah.
And it just works so well. In this movie, it just felt really stilted, unnatural.
Yes.
Like they didn't want to be there.
Yes.
It was weird.
Like they had just had a big, I don't know, like maybe they slept with each other the night before and then it was awkward.
But they're supposed to have not seen each other for like...
No, I mean like the actual...
Yeah, like that's how it came across, you mean?
Yeah,
I get you.
It was awkward, and then a few minutes later, they were meant to be like, oh, yeah, you still drive me crazy, haha.
Yeah, I know.
And then that really ridiculous hug.
Oh, later on.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he embraces it. It looks like yeah, that was a weird hug. It looks like really like forced her head into his chest.
Yes. But at the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, something bad is gonna happen now. And this is going to be the last time that they see each other.
Yeah.
I just knew that was going to happen. But...
What, you mean like the fact that poor Carrie Fisher actually passed away? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Oh, okay. You're talking about within the movie.
In the movie.
Okay. Yeah. May she rest in peace. She was a good actress. Always liked her. And look, it's nothing against the actors in this movie. Because by and large, most of them were really good. You know, actually good actors. You know, I know I'm saying Harrison Ford sort of phoned it in. He's a great actor, though. He just didn't seem to care that much in this movie.
Yeah, I was like, why am I back again?
Yeah. Well, we know why he's back.
Yeah, well,
Not the big money.
Yeah.
But, yeah, his passion seems to be gone. And Carrie Fisher's passion for this in this movie seems to be sort of gone as well. Yeah. Like I said, Finn, John Boyega is the only one who seemed to really give a shit in this.
Yeah.
Like, he was acting his heart out. Like, his life depended on it.
Yeah.
And so, hey, I thank him for that, because it made this movie a little bit bearable.
Yeah. You could feel that that his character had attached himself to Rey. Like, he really clung to her, like she was the only person that he had.
Yeah, and then she friend-zoned him.
Yeah.
I'll
see you again someday, my friend.
Bro. She practically called him bro, mate, dude, pal, buddy. That was terrible. Poor guy just wanted a hug and a kiss. Maybe a bit more. But, you know, far out. I mean, he did risk his life to save her, you know.
Yeah. He did get struck in the back with a lightsaber for her.
That's right. Almost paralysed.
Yeah.
You got a note to say, or am I up to one?
I'm like, we're way ahead of my notes.
Are we?
Yeah. I skipped.
Have you skipped some? Oh, I want you to cover everything that you've got to say. Go for it.
No, I just...
We're letting loose here.
Oh, yeah. Loosey goosey. What's that from?
No. I love the little phrases and lines that you use.
My next note, going way back, was...
You didn't like the title crawl?
Yeah.
It did suck, but yeah.
It was the scene where Kylo has his confession with Vader's mask.
Oh, right.
Helmet?
Yeah.
His helmet.
Yeah.
In that scene, I could really feel that, you know, Vader was his god and he was his hero.
And because they had like that family connection.
Yes.
But was it revealed at that point that they were family? Like from the first time we watched it, had it been revealed yet?
Yes, because he
that
said
he was a
grandfather.
solo.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And so the first time that I saw it, I really felt the weight of that scene, and even just watching it again tonight, I felt it again. And what does he say? He says something like, "Oh, I feel it again. the pull to the light, and that's just one of my favorite lines. I mean, we all feel the pull to the light in ourselves,
and the pull to the dark,
and the pull to the dark.
Yeah.
So we have that choice. We have the choice to embrace the light or embrace the dark.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. You read my mind, woman. Well said.
Yeah, which, like, that scene just really, it really proved to me, I don't even know how to say this. Kylo, he was so truly evil because he could feel the light, and he specifically chose to go against it, to do everything that he could to get rid of that light.
Unlike other people who, might really want to be good, but they're pulled down by their temptations or whatever.
Yeah.
That they have to fight against, but they're trying. Their endeavor, their battle is to try and be good.
Yes.
Battling against the bad. He was battling against the good because he truly wanted to be evil.
Yeah. He was feeling the pull from the light, but his brain was saying, no, I want to be bad.
This is why I feel like his character is irredeemable. They pushed him so far. They made him the biggest, evilest bastard.
Yes.
And on top of it all, he murders his own father.
Yes.
How is his character ever to be pulled back from that? But they seem to insinuate that in little hints of that in The Last Jedi. And then they're insinuating that in the Rise of Skywalker trailers as well, that maybe he comes back. I don't know. I don't know. But I feel he's gone too far. They've ruined his character to ever be redeemable.
Yes.
They've made him a real evil villain, which would have been fine if they made him a villain that actually had a threat level.
Yeah.
But the fact that she beat him first go round in the first movie totally killed the threat level from him. The drama, the tension, because now we just know Rey's invincible, nothing can beat her. There's no threat level. You look at Luke Skywalker, he has his first lightsaber fight in the second movie of the trilogy, and he gets his ass absolutely handed to him, and his hand cut off as well.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the hero of that story. That would be like Luke kicking Vader's ass in A New Hope. Vader wouldn't have his level of menace and intimidation that he had if Luke had beaten him straight away in the first movie. But that's what they did with Kylo Ren. Even Anakin Skywalker, the greatest, strongest, most powerful Jedi of them all, that the whole prophecy was about. Even he got his ass kicked in the second movie, and he was a trained Jedi at that point.
Yeah.
Like he was still an apprentice, but for several years he had been trained, and he was the strongest Force user they'd ever come across. And he got beaten by Count Dooku, an old man. And Rey's kicking Kylo's ass, who's a master. He's master of the Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
And she beats him straight away. Just stupid.
Which could have been forgiven if they had explained it in The Last Jedi. But they didn't, so...
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that gets me to my... Oh, you got something to say?
Yes.
Go for it.
I do.
My next point's stupid. Well, it's a stupid movie, so I've got stupid points.
Ooh. I think the moment that Kylo weakened himself was when he took his helmet off. Because then he showed her that he was just an average person. He wasn't scary at all. He just looked like just another guy.
Yeah.
And that he did that to try and convince her to open up to him, but really that's when he really screwed up the most, I think.
By taking it off?
Yes.
His mask. Yeah, I had that point coming up. It was my second point coming.
Oh, okay.
Was Kylo Ren should have kept his mask on for the whole trilogy. Instead of his stupid Pantene shampoo haircut when he took his helmet off, just sort of ruined it.
Yeah.
Looked like a hair ad with an ugly young Mr. Bean looking guy in there. Hey, I'm no looker myself, as you could see in my videos, but
no comment, because
I'm also not a heartthrob to a lot of teenage girls who are watching this movie.
Wives.
A teenage one? Oh my god. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to keep the menace, he should have kept his helmet on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
they sort of killed the mystique. That'd be like removing Vader's helmet in A New Hope.
Yeah.
They didn't remove it until Return of the Jedi.
Mm.
Yep.
Can I just say
Mm.
that it is Luke's fault that Kylo was bad.
How do you
I
get
blame
to
Luke.
that? How do you get to that?
Well, okay. So Luke could have told Kylo, Han, or Leia that Vader saved him. But because he
At the
didn't
end
tell,
of Return of the Jedi.
because he didn't tell anybody that
I know what you're saying.
That he was actually that he did a good thing in the end. Then all the baddies started worshipping. Ooh, Vader, Vader, Vader. Do you see? Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. It's almost like at the end of Return of the Jedi, Vader was like, "Son, I sacrificed myself to save you. Out of my love, you have redeemed me." And Luke's like, "It's okay, Dad. That secret is safe with me."
I know.
No one needs to know of your act of
Why?
pure good and self-sacrifice. I will make sure your legacy as an evil, murdering, child-killing bastard lives on, Dad.
Yes.
You made a great point.
I never ever liked Luke. I'm sorry. I never saw what everybody else saw.
I like Luke. I just don't
Luke.
like Mark Hamill's Twitter feed. No,
I never liked Luke's character.
Yeah.
Because he was just a whiny little bitch.
Man,
and then the fact that he did this,
point.
he caused this big shit fight. It's Luke's fault. And then what did he do? He just ran off and hid like a little bitch that he is. So Luke, I blame you.
Yeah.
It's your fault.
Even with that glaring thing that you see, that's the thing. Like at the end of Return of the Jedi, you see all the Force ghosts, but you get the impression only Luke can see them because Anakin appears there happy with the good guys because he's been redeemed.
Yeah.
So you always figure. See, that's the thing. The Force Awakens makes Luke a dickhead, right?
Yeah.
For not telling people about Vader's redemption. But if the Force Awakens never happened, the way the Last Jedi ended, it ended insinuating that everyone was going to know about Vader's conversion. It's this movie that overwrote that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not Luke's fault, and it's not Return of the Jedi's fault.
No,
it's the Force Awakens' fault and the writers.
It's Luke's fault. It's Luke's fault.
I think Lawrence Kasdan himself wrote this movie. I don't know what he was thinking.
No.
Ugh.
And the fact that Luke knew that Kylo was going bad. I mean, wouldn't you just be like, "Hey, nephew, we've got to have a little chat about your grandfather"?
That's true. I think that's something we can cover more in the Last Jedi review.
Yes, alright.
Because that gets more into Luke and Kylo's dumb relationship.
What a waste of a movie. I'm not looking forward to watching that again.
Alright, my next point is called The Luke Map is Dumb. A capital D-U-M-B. Because
dumb.
It is. Think about it, right? They can't figure out where Luke is because BB-8 is just carrying a small chunk of the map, right?
Yeah.
But the small chunk he's carrying shows all these stars. It shows the star system that Luke is on and the planet he's on and all the star systems around it. But they can't figure out, with all their telescopes and computers that they have, they can't figure out where that fits into the night sky.
I know.
That's so stupid. And with the giant plot hole of the fact that R2-D2 just sits there the whole time with the rest of the map.
Yep.
That's so dumb. They had the Resistance. Resistance had BB-8. He was in Poe's.
Yeah. Yep.
He was with Poe.
Yep.
All right. I know Poe got the map thing from that guy in the village, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. But still, that means R2-D2 had the rest of the map showing, hey, he's somewhere in this section of space.
Yeah, it was BB-8. Yeah.
Hey, we've narrowed it right down.
So, speaking of blaming, so Luke's to blame for Kylo.
Right.
And R2-D2 is to blame for Han's death.
Yeah, true. But look, we can't blame a robot. It's whoever programmed the little dipshit. Little tin can. But you're right. They could have solved this puzzle a lot sooner.
They were there.
They were there
BB-8
together.
was trying to wake him up. Hello, we need to work together.
What actually woke R2 in the end? I can't even remember. Han dying.
Yeah.
What a stupid trigger program. Must wait till main character dies before I can help.
Yep.
Oh, so stupid.
Must keep plot going.
You must keep plot going. Yeah. What's your next point?
My next point was...
I'm almost out of points.
Just a quote from Finn.
Yeah?
We'll use the Force.
Oh, yeah. One of the few genuinely funny moments in the movie, I would say.
And then Han saying, that's not how the Force works.
Yeah.
I just love the innocence and the passion behind that tiny little scene. He's just like, oh, we'll just use the Force.
Again.
No idea what I'm talking about, but I'm going to do whatever it takes.
John Boyega elevating
save Rey.
An average scene.
Yes.
And I don't know if Harrison Ford's acting was good in that scene, or if he looked genuinely annoyed, but is that just because the day of shooting had gone on too long and he wanted his coffee or just wanted to go home? I don't know. I can't tell.
It was just cold.
Because he's a grumpy old man, and I don't know if it's acting or real anymore with Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, my next point is just 2 words. Hux sucks.
Hux sucks.
That character is so stupid, pointless, ham-fistedly acted. And Domhnall Gleeson, the actor, he's not a bad actor.
Yeah.
I've seen him in movies where he's quite good.
Harry Potter?
No. He was good in Ex Machina with Oscar Isaac.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a good actor. I think he's the son of Brendan Gleeson, who's also in Harry Potter. You'd know him if you saw him. He's a very famous actor. He's a good actor too.
I don't know.
So it's a good acting family. But his character is stupid. He's like the Finn equivalent in the First Order. He's just a bumbling moron, a clown. He's always screwing up. He's always made to look like an incompetent fool. He's getting bossed around by Kylo, and he's just he's always raging at the camera.
And dibber-dobbing on
Kylo.
But
he's always impotently raging.
Yeah.
There's nothing behind it. And he's giving this rousing speech, and they made his eyes look evil. Just Hux sucks. Simple as that.
I think
someone should put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll link it in the description.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No comment.
No comment.
Yeah.
All right, what you got next, darling?
All right, next I have. I remember the dread that filled with me the first time I watched the scene between Kylo and Han.
On the catwalk.
Yes.
On the catwalk.
Yes, I really felt for Kylo. He hurt so much, and he wanted to be free from that pain.
So
and
yeah.
He truly believed that his pain and suffering would stop once he did a certain act. And that the pull to the light would leave, blah, blah, blah. He knew that he was good, and he chose to be bad, and I hate him for that. And again, that's what makes him so much more worse. Worst? Worceless? Worcestershire sauce?
Worseland. I don't know.
Yeah, that.
Worstville.
So much more worse than Vader ever was. I've cried every time that I've seen that particular scene, and
Did you cry this time?
I cried again.
Cringe tears or?
No, genuine tears, because every time I see it, I think of our kids, and just I imagine.
What, you imagine them raining lightsabers through your chest?
Yes.
Oh my god. Jeez,
no, I just imagine.
Please don't, children. Love you.
We better throw them out. The lightsabers, not the kids.
Yeah.
No, I imagine the heartbreak of I can't imagine ever knowing that my child has chosen to be bad, and then has chosen to be I can't imagine to look into my child's eyes and see them suffering because they're choosing to go against the good.
Well, this was so dumb about, like, look at his dad. Look what they did to his dad. Should have been a great role model to him, because Han Solo had this great character arc from being a sort of self-centered, self-serving smuggler who had no allegiance to anyone but himself and his ship and crew, him and Chewie, and their bottom dollar, their profit margin. And he went from that to being a hero of the rebellion, fighting against the Empire, risking his life to save Luke and Leia and the galaxy. Became a general in the rebel army. And then he goes from that to just becoming a bum smuggler again, criminal. Like they destroyed Han Solo's story arc completely.
And I mean, I got that part. Yes, I was annoyed that he ended up being a coward in the end.
Yeah.
But
just like, betrayed his character.
I know, but I got it because I imagine that I would be the same if we had a similar situation with our kids. Like, just you've got, your one child and you've fought so hard for good and to be good, and then your child ends up turning out like Kylo, and that would just destroy me, just like it destroyed him in the end, and he paid for it.
Do you think he was partly heartbroken because of what his son looked like without a mask on as well?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Now tell me this: the first time you watched it, think back 4 years in a cinema.
Yeah.
During that tense scene, do you know which way it was going to go? Like, did you know he was going to kill his dad?
Yes.
You knew?
But
Is that because I told you plot spoilers that I had read?
No, I could feel it. I could feel the tension building up, and I knew it was going to happen.
Oh,
I didn't... Yeah. You know what else? What really broke me? The hand on the cheek.
Oh, as he slipped away. Yeah, that got me too.
I still just have to touch my child just one last time.
That was an emotional bit too. That to me just signaled the heartbreak of, what they did to Han Solo's character. They literally murdered his character.
Yeah.
It was symbolically done on the screen. And also, how about the subtlety of his face turning red when he's about to do the evil act? That was like the subtlety of a bloody chainsaw, wasn't it? Of an anvil over the head. My God!
Yeah.
Oh, look, his face is red because he is evil.
That was good. That was fine.
I mean, it's good imagery. It's striking imagery, but it's just ham-fisted sort of symbolism that they were trying to do.
Yeah.
So you out of notes?
Yeah, I'm out of notes.
Okay, because I've still got a few quick point notes to get through. All right, so I'm just going to go through them now before we stay too long. All right. First of all, I've got here, Poe's helmet doesn't fit. When he's flying around in the X-Wing, his pilot helmet's way too small for him, and it just looked really weird to me. It just looked like, how's the prop department and the wardrobe department, how'd they not get that right? His helmet's like two sizes too bloody small. Yeah. Looked like it was gonna slowly inch its way up and then explode off his head through the canopy. It's so stupid. All right, what else have I got here? Just the last few things. Oh yeah, after Han dies, you see that Leia feels something, right? She feels in the Force. His presence has gone, right?
But is she feeling that, or is she feeling that Kylo is really turning bad?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Could be one or the other. But the thing that was heinous, this is one of the other heinous things, is when the heroes, right, Finn and all of that, get back to Leia, they run off the ship, and you think the first person Leia's going to embrace over their shared grief and mourning the loss of their lifelong friend, you think it would be Chewie. That her and Chewie would embrace and share a moment together. That would at least, redeem a small part of this movie. But no, Chewie just like oafily stumbles past her to, I don't know, or go take a piss or something, and she goes and embraces Rey, someone she's never even met before. I think up to that point they'd never met. She just heard tales of Rey's Mary Sue supremeness, and had to go and get her autograph. It was just stupid, a missed opportunity for them to have a nice, emotional, heartwarming scene together.
And if you look in the background of that scene, you just see Chewie not even being embraced by anybody.
Yeah, just like chilling out and smoking a cigarette or something. Like, it's stupid.
Yeah, he's just standing there like a prop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got here just reiterating that Finn got friend zoned, and that his whole character was a waste of his acting talent, and that he should have been the central Jedi protagonist character.
Especially because I feel like he's the only fan of the actual series.
Yes, and not just for his acting ability, his character was more compelling than hers. You know, an ex-stormtrooper and all that. I mean, it wasn't fleshed out that well, but his character had more of a compelling background instead of mysterious, no parents background with no explanation, no nothing. You literally 2 movies in still have no explanation of. I've also written here, Reylo is lame-o. Okay, so this whole...
Really write that?
Yeah, well, I wrote it's lame-o bullshit.
Yeah.
This whole shipping thing. You've heard of this?
Yes,
shipping? Relation shipping, where they take 2 characters and put them together.
Yes.
The most heinous and disturbing one is Poe and Finn. Man, I feel sorry for Finn. On top of his character being a joke, they want to do that to him as well. So that was ridiculous. But the Reylo one is stupid. I mean, firstly, they've got a way big age gap, a disturbingly big age gap between them. Oh, she's like really early 20s in this movie, and he's like mid 30s. All right.
But aren't they meant to be the same age in the movie?
I don't think so. Really? I don't know. Maybe they are, but I'm just going off the actual actors. That was disturbing. They have no chemistry whatsoever. Actually, they're both wooden planks in this movie, so maybe it would work. But
I think that they do have a little tiny bit of chemistry, but I'm not sure if that's just because they're kind of aroused by each other's force.
All right, look, Reylo is the same with anything. As soon as teenage fangirls start liking it, it becomes the most lame, worst thing ever. All right? That's the rule of thumb. Teenage fangirls like it, it is now terrible. Okay? So, Reylo is lame-o, that's a fact, objectively. I've got here the promising ending was squandered in the stupid Last Jedi. So the promising ending being with Luke, right? Yeah, this promising, compelling ending. She finally gets to see Luke Skywalker. He has this look of heartbreak on his face, and like something epic is going to happen, and we're going to get some kind of closure and answers. And then in The Last Jedi, he just takes that sacred lightsaber, his father's saber, and just tosses it over his shoulder like it's nothing, like it's rubbish, like it's trash.
Which is bullshit.
This movie is trash. Yeah. That's what was trash. All right? That was such disrespect to the fans, to the legacy of Luke, to Mark Hamill himself. And remember all the complaints he was making during The Last Jedi?
Yes.
And then the mouse, old Mickey Mouse, came and, busted his kneecaps and told him to keep his mouth shut so he could keep getting his paychecks. Yeah. You see, man, he was a broken man promoting that movie.
But come on, that was a great ending to this movie.
Yeah, I'll give it that. That ending was compelling. That was like, wow, I want to see what happens next.
Yes.
And then they just pierced that away. Literally, just threw it away, threw it over the shoulder.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, the deleted scenes. We watched the deleted scenes that were on the DVD, and most of them were shit and pointless, and they were full of unfinished special effects shots.
Glad they were cut.
But I do remember, it wasn't in the deleted scenes on the disc, but I remember in the initial trailers, they put out the first teaser trailer back in early 2015, maybe late 2014. Yeah. Anyway, it had a scene where, now we know it was Kylo Ren, and he's stepping into a snowy forest, and we see him from behind, and he takes a few steps forward and then draws the crossguard lightsaber. And it was first the main beam went out, and then the crossguard beams went out.
Yeah.
And that was the first reveal of the crossguard, and everyone went nuts. Even I did. I was like, wow, that's a cool interesting twist on the lightsaber, something different. It looked epic, and that whole scene in the snow in this dark forest, it was shot so well. I was like, man, that's great. And it was never in the movie. That shot was never in the movie. And you know, there were all these rumors swirling at the time of what it could mean, and some of them were compelling, others were not. But yeah, it was never used, and I feel like that was a wasted opportunity. Why would you cut that out? Dumb move.
Yeah.
That was the best shot of the trailers. And that was one of the main things that made me want to watch the movie when it came out. And it wasn't in it. So anyway, and my last point is just summing up the movie. Okay, I've tried to sum it up into just sort of one sentence. All right? So Star Wars, The Force Awakens is dumb shit, subpar, New Hope, politically correct, stupid betrayal of a movie. That's what it is. That's what I've written. In all capitals.
Wow.
All right?
Okay.
So that's it, yeah.
Wow, you did write that in capitals.
Yes,
okay.
I did, yes.
All right. Nice, I think...
So I think that sums it up. That sums up my opinion of it. How would you sum it up?
What she said.
What she said. What I said?
Yeah, what you said.
Yeah, it was just a disappointment, huh? In hindsight. It was partly...
I'm very disappointed. But... I don't know.
Look, do you find this movie to be a poor movie on its own without The Last Jedi in context, or does The Last Jedi just is The Last Jedi the thing that makes you dislike this movie? Because I dislike this movie on an individual basis, and then The Last Jedi makes me dislike it even more because of what it did to the storylines in this movie. But even alone, without The Last Jedi, I still dislike this movie, mainly for what it did to Han Solo and for some of the other reasons I stated. And Rey being overpowered.
I feel like... I don't know. I feel like maybe I don't like it, but the fact, like... Oh, jeez. I understood what they were trying to get at. And they did so many parts really well. But it couldn't be a standalone movie. It had to have the follow-up with The Last Jedi. It had to have The Last Jedi wrapping up all of the loose ends to make it work. But The Last Jedi just ruined it for me. I really did enjoy this movie up until recently.
Really? So for you, it was more The Last Jedi is what ruined this. As a standalone movie, you can still enjoy this one, can you?
I just wish I'd never seen The Last Jedi. Because...
Can't unsee that.
Yeah,
just like you'll never
exactly.
unsee old Maz Kanata anus eyes. She'd already forgotten about it.
Yeah, I had.
Put it back in her head.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this movie anymore.
Yeah, you don't know?
I don't know.
Well, I think you summed up your thoughts pretty well, and I think you were quite generous to this movie.
But now I don't know if I like it or I don't like it.
Well, it sounds like
I feel like maybe it's 50-50.
It sounds like there were a lot of elements of the movie that got you invested, and but then the rug was sort of pulled out from under you, and these investments weren't paid off.
Yes.
So see, for me, that would make me overall dislike the movie, and it would make me dislike it even more than I would say a totally crappy movie I had no investment in, because I wouldn't care about the subpar. The movie that I have no investment, I don't care about it at all. So I don't care if it's good or bad. But this one, you were invested, so you wanted it to be good, and it shat on your expectations.
Well, when you put it that way.
No. Yeah. Look, for me, overall, I can't stand it anymore, and it was a real slog trying to even get through it this time.
Yeah, that it was.
I had to have snacks to keep me going.
Watch it over 2 days.
Yeah, I enjoyed the snack. I enjoyed eating the snacks more than I did watching the movie. But anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So, an hour and 10. Wow. I think we've covered our thoughts on the movie quite well. And I have a bad tendency to linger on at the end and to not be able to end video, so I'm just going to end it here. Now, you got any final words to say about it?
Make sure you subscribe.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Oh, do you want to give it a rating out of 10?
No.
You do, what, you can't?
I really can't. I need to think about this more.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll give it 1.
No.
No. All right. No. I'll give it 4 out of 10. I'll give it 4.
Oh.
Yeah, I give it
Eesh.
1 point for John Boyega's performance. All right,
Ooh.
and I'll give it 3 points for the effects and the soundtrack.
Wow.
That's it. 4 out of 10. Yep. And that's generous, I think. Anyway.
Okay.
All right, so we'll leave it there. Thanks for staying tuned, and thanks for listening, and stay tuned for our next one on The Last Jedi.
Yeah, we'll do The Last Jedi, and then we will be...
Yeah, stay tuned for...
What's the new one called?
The Rise of Skywalker, sorry.
The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, The Rise of Skywalker.
Mm.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that as well. We'll cover that as soon as it comes out. And, yeah.
That's all, folks.
May the Force be with you all, I guess, because it wasn't with this movie.
But it was with Rey.
Yeah. And don't forget, Mas Kanata in the size.